There are some things you should absolutely do in every interview, and there are some things you should absolutely not do in any interview. And we're going to talk about all of that, right? Stay tuned.
And I've been chosen by my state, feel like, look, wait, I'm not the 2-3, I was picked first, I'm the, wait. And I've been traveling around my country for a minute. Every state I go, I find rings. I feel like I'm LeBron James. In Cleveland, this for you, it gotta be, homie. I'm from the land, so understand my people gotta be hungry.
Yo, my name is Coach Boz. I'm a 2-time college dropout who turned an entry-level job into a 10-year career in less than 6 months, and I think I can help you do the same thing. Today, again, we're talking about interviews. So if you saw the first video about interviews, I think I put it here. If you saw the first video about interviews, we talked about outfits, how you should dress for the interview as opposed to when you actually get the job. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. But today I want to kind of talk about interview conduct. How are we acting within an interview? We'll talk a little bit about it. And I think this is like interviews and even like how you dress in an interview. Like these are things that there isn't like a catch-all. I'm going to tell you what I, as a person who hires people, I'm going to give you that perspective a little bit. So remember, like I'm talking as a person who has gotten jobs, right? Multiple in different industries, at a pretty high percentage, and talk to you about someone who has done hiring, in multiple different industries as well. So, one of the things I would say, like, again, like this feels basic. These are things that I learned when I was like 14, but I think it's probably helpful, right? Especially as we're coming out of COVID, where so many people have just been apart from each other. Like we haven't really, spoken to people in person. So we'll talk a little bit about both and, right? In-person interviews and phone interviews. The one thing I would say, in an interview, especially a phone interview, I would just say, listen, speak clearly, be ready to take that phone call, act as if you're expecting that phone call, right? And so I would say that. Now let's talk about conduct in person. I would say, obviously, basic things, keep good eye contact, be pleasant, act like you're excited to be there. And you almost want to have an air as if you can help the organization in something. Like when you're in an interview, you want to have that confidence that, hey, I'm here because I believe I can do something to benefit the organization. And I want to just try to prove that in this interview. One of the things I would say is make sure you like firm handshake, all of the things, and just be pleasant. Now, once you're in there, like you got to be ready for a ton of different questions. A couple things I would say is know where you're interviewing for. Know what you're doing. Why is that important? Don't come into the interview looking like you're seeking information. You want to have a little bit of background on the place that you're looking for. Read their core values, know a little bit about the organization. If it's a nonprofit, get to know their board, look people up, go on LinkedIn. Nobody, like if I know I just did an interview for someone or I know that we're interviewing for a role, I'm never going to feel weird about somebody adding me on LinkedIn. That's me. Like that's never going to make me feel weird. Personally, I don't think that that's a try hard move. Some people might look at it that way, but at the end of the day, like, LinkedIn is for networking. And if you don't get the job, it might, you never know. I can't remember if we talked about that. I know I recorded a video about networking. If I haven't put it out yet, I will. But networking is super important. Like if you don't get a job, you could potentially get another one just based off of a good interview. I don't know the percentages on it, but I would guess somewhere around 70% of people that have a job got that job because someone they knew worked there or someone was referred them to the job, right? And or someone's reference tipped the scales. Like, oh, I know this person. I'm going to call this person and make sure that this is a good candidate, right? So always present yourself well and know a little bit about the organization, right? Know some of the things that they've done, like come prepared with some of that, right? The second thing I would say is you want to make sure that you are able to quickly articulate what this job is and why you think you're a good fit, right? Do not just read and regurgitate what's on your resume. And that's, again, my opinion. Like, I like to do a resume, and we did talk about that too. If I did, again, if this video is not out yet, I definitely recorded it. It will be out. I promise. It's baby steps. I can't do everything at once. Who do you think I am? Not a miracle worker, just a coach trying to do good on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, like on your resume, I would just say get in the door, right? Resumes got to be very like, this is what I do and this is why I'm good at this. You just want to make sure that when you're interviewing, you're talking about the role that's there, and being very specific about some of the things that you believe you can do to help this organization. Again, if you are interviewing for like a McDonald's job, do not talk about all your years in a factory. That's stupid. Don't do that. Right. If you're talking through, I'm going to keep it like where I'm at. If you're trying to get a job in sales, don't talk about the camp counselor gig you had when you were 14. Like, don't talk about that. You want to express why you're a good fit for this role, right? So if I'm in a situation for sales and I'm trying to get a sales job, and even say like I've never done sales before, but I'm trying to get a sales job, you say something like, listen, I think sales is about relationship building and great customer service. At the end of the day, people are only going to pay for what they find value in. And one of the best things I was able to do when I was working in customer service is really creating high level value about the thing that they were coming in to complain about. Right? They already knew what they wanted. They had it. And it was really my job to really just express why the value of what they had was still valuable. And ultimately, did I get more money for the company? No. But did they make a return? No. And I think that that's a reason why I'd be great for the sales role, right? Like, that is an example of how you want to speak when someone asks you something like, well, I see here you don't have any sales experience. What do you say about that? Right? Like, you want to be prepared for those questions, which is kind of like a third thing. Be prepared for any question you can get, right? For me, I told you, I'm a 2-time college dropout. I have to have an answer for that, right? I have to have an answer for why I went to college twice and didn't finish, right? I have a good reason for it. I can talk about it. It's not a big deal. I didn't have money to keep going to college. So they said, you can't go here for free. And I said, but why? And they said, all right, bye. And so I once I got kicked out, because of money, I didn't do anything like illegal. I went to go get a job, worked my debt off, paid the school back, and then went back to school realizing maybe I want to go for a different degree. I did that for a little bit, and I realized like something happened. I had to move away. I moved an hour away and paid for that out of pocket. And then like got another job and was like, I should probably like, I'm 23. I don't know if it makes sense to go back to school. I got a little kid, less than 1. Like, I feel like I need to like put some roots into a career. So I made I made a decision. I made a decision to say, okay, I made a conscious decision to say, okay, boom, I am going to start building skills and own my skills and build my career. So when someone asks, I have an answer for why I have 2 college stints and neither of them are finished, right? I have an answer. If I have a gap in my career, I would have an answer for that. This is what happened. So be prepared. Don't be dumbfounded by people asking questions. Remember, they're trying to make a good pick. And they want to know who's the best fit. You could be the only applicant or you could be one of 40, right? It's your job. Once you get your foot in the door, it's your job to make sure they leave with no doubts of what could be doubtable, right? And those are a couple things that pop up on my resume. But what's not doubtable is oh, you were at this job, but you had this role for 6 months, then you got promoted. You had this role for 18 months, then you got promoted. You had this role for 12 months, then you got promoted. So you can see consistent growth in my resume, right? So my resume, super impressive. My writing skills, pretty impressive, right? And so those are things that I know I have going for me. So I'm going to do well in the interview. So those are a few things that are super important for the interview. The other thing I would say is, obviously, I think this is obvious, keep good eye contact, stay pleasant. And one of I had an interview where I think I was answering all the questions well. And then the interviewer, who ended up being my boss, was like, how much of this is just you? And how much are you just like, how much is this interview you? I think that's what it was. Like, how much of this is you and how much of this is interview you? I was like, listen, I don't really have the energy to keep up any of this. So like, I want you to hire who I am, for better or for worse. I do not want to have to try to keep up with something I'm not. Right. And so those are important things too, right? Like, sometimes you get the interview and you get, you have to like try to convince these people to hire you. I would honestly I would advise against that. Sorry. I would say don't do that. I would say be who you are. Obviously be honest, put your best foot forward, but don't say you know how to do things that you don't know how to do. Like, if they start talking about like programs and like certain things and you don't understand what that is, you should say something right away. You should be like, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Can you define that acronym? And then they tell you, and you might still not understand it. You might say, oh, this other job, we use a different acronym. And they might go, oh, yeah, that's very similar. Remember, a lot of times people in industries, like, they've been in the industry so long that they'll just say a thing and that thing will be super normal to them. They'll say like KPI, right? I know what KPI is. SOP. I know what an SOP is. And I might say something like that in an interview. If you don't know that SOP stands for standard operating procedure or standard operating process, or, you know, however people say it, then you'll be like, what's a SOP? What's a SOP? Right? If I say KPI, you're like, KIPI? What's a KIPI? I know it means key performance indicator, and you might not even know what key performance or indicator means. I would say don't pretend like you know. If they ask you a question about, hey, what do you think about KPIs? You go, I'm sorry, what do you mean by KPIs? They go, oh, it's a key performance indicator. It's like, oh, sorry, at my last job, we just called those measurables. And then you just move on, right? Like, just be honest. That's the other thing I'd say. Just be honest in an interview. Do not try to be something you are not. Don't do it, right? Flow well with the interview. Try to make it conversational. This is going to be really weird. Don't make it about you, but don't be afraid to talk about your successes. I know it's hard. Like, that is, again, I feel like I might be talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but don't make it like, make it a conversation. Be inquisitive as well, like with them. Like, if the person interviewing you says something or does something, and like, have it be a conversation, right? So don't make it all about you saying things like, yeah, when I was coming up, I did this and I did this. And if you've said 49 times, like, it's probably not that good of a conversation. Like, you should do that. But I would also say, if someone asks you, tell me about a time where you overcame an obstacle, just be honest. And honestly, if you need time to think, I would also say that's another thing. Again, these are probably bonus ones. Like, be honest and go, that's a great question. Let me think about that a little bit. And don't be afraid to like leave a little silence. In one of my interviews, I was asked a question, and I'll be honest, I don't know that I was stumped, but I wanted to be like, I'm an intentional thinker. And so the question was so hard in the moment that I was just like, I honestly don't have that answer. I can't think of that off the top of my head. It was like what would you do in this situation if you were to get this role, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't have an idea for that right now, honestly. And I didn't. I think I might have later, like after I thought about it a ton, because that almost never happens to me. I'm almost never stumped in that way. But I was honest. I didn't try to make something up, right? I think I was like, listen, I need time to think on that, but this is what I think. Boom, 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 boom. Right. So I just felt like J. Cole. Boom, boom. But yeah, like just be honest, be conversational, all those things. And I think the last bit of, I'm trying to run through my head like multiple types of interviews. Always have a question or 3, right? Don't leave the interview and that they go, do you have any questions for us? And they go, and you go, nope, I think you guys explained everything really, really well. Never do that. As an interviewer, if you don't have any questions for me, I'll just think you're not that, engaged. I just think you don't care that much. Right. Like that's what I would think. Now, again, is that a big deal? No. But if I'm between you and 2 other people and it's close, that might be a big deal. Right. That might be the thing where I'm like, you know what? They were so close, but this person asked me a really good ending question. I loved that question that so-and-so said. I think that I like the way they're thinking. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? I want you all to be successful at the end of the day. And so have a good question. One of the questions that you could always ask is depending on the role. I would say something like, what is one thing that you're looking to have off your plate with filling this role? That's a question. What's another question? Based off of some of the conversations we've had, what are some ways that you think that I could, that I would fit the role, and what are some concerns you have? Right? That might be a very bold question, but if you ask me that question as an interview, I might be like, wow, that was bold. Somebody asked me a question the other day. Man, it was such a good question. I wish I could remember it. I was like, sometimes they'll ask like, what's your favorite core value of your organization? They might ask you like an off the wall question. But at the end, or they would ask me an off the wall question, but I would say like, have a good question, have something not related to pay, and not related to when you can start. You can ask like, what's one of the KPIs that you think is a, what would it be? What's a key performance indicator you feel is the biggest opportunity on your team right now? Right? Like make them think, because they know, they probably just got reamed about that number in another meeting. They know. Ask them what their biggest, you can ask them, what's been their biggest success since they've worked at this company, right? Like questions like that put the interviewer on their heels a little bit. It makes them feel human. And those are the things that make them remember you, especially if like I've had a situation where I had like 40, 50 applicants. And then I called like 10 up, or I had like 15 phone interviews. And then I whittled it down to like 5 in-person interviews, right? Every little bit matters. How you're dressed, what you like, all of that stuff matters. And I just want you to be successful. So at the end of the day gonna end, and the video gonna end. So if you like what we're talking about today, like, man, like the video. I'm just trying to create content to help people who are just like, man, how do I do this in an interview? Like, I don't understand, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm here to help. Comment anything, any suggestions that like help the community. Like, let's build a community. Any suggestions you have, like, put them in the comments. Like, hey, and you should do this. Like, and you should do this in an interview. Any CEOs, any hiring managers, any recruiters, anybody like that follows this content, put that stuff in there. I think this could be really helpful. And if you find it helpful, subscribe. Well, I am purposefully not promoting this YouTube page because I want to see what it does organically. I want to see how it speaks to people and how people can make the most out of it. So please like, comment, subscribe. You can share it if you want. If you want to share it, you can. But at the end of the day, like I said, the video gonna end, and I'll see y'all next time. Happy interviewing. Peace.
And I've been chosen by my state, feel like, look, wait, I'm not the 2-3, I was picked first, I'm the, wait. And I've been traveling around my country for a minute, every state I go, I find rings, I feel like I'm LeBron James.